Hi, I'm Mike Matthews, the host of the longest-running self-produced daily podcast by a guy named Mike. In the land of Ameritopica here at Café Anyway, it is Mike's Daily Podcast, and it's FFF episode 3065. Okay, I know people are gullible. I know I have fallen for a thing or two. And AI is doing that a bunch. The fakes, the fake outs, the fake deep fakes, etc. Well, apparently in Australia, there was a radio host, and this podcast is like a radio show. It is heard on a radio station in Camarillo called Cama Radio, which you can hear on FM 99.1 or 99.1 FM. When you're on AM radio, you say the AM and then the numbers, but in the FM, okay, that's a little too much in the weeds, the radio weeds, as it were. But check this out about radio, and really, I want you to be aware that this is going on and just be careful. An AI-generated radio host in Australia went unnoticed for months. This according to TheVerge.com. A popular Australian radio station used an AI-generated DJ to host one of its segments, and no one seemed to notice. The show is called Workdays with, I guess it's Thai, but it looks like Thigh. Offers a 4-hour mix of hip-hop, R&B, and pop with no indication that the voice of its host, Thai, is AI-generated. And I know here in the United States, if you have DJs or radio hosts on the air that is not physically there and is not live, well, they don't have to physically be there, but if they're not live, if they're not actually talking, some radio stations use, for example, Zoom or some kind of other link, audio link, that the host may be somewhere else, but they're broadcasting live. If they're not broadcasting live, that's when you have to make a indication on the air, and you have to point it out that the host might possibly be pre-recorded. Some of the audio you're hearing might be pre-recorded. Hey, this is a podcast, so already it's implied that it's pre-recorded. But Workdays with Ty is broadcast on the Sydney radio station called CADA. I don't know if they call it CADA. But here in America, we've got the K, the radio stations that start with K. Like, I worked for K-Hay, Khay, for over 11 years in Ventura County. Or it's W, and I worked at WWFF in Huntsville, Alabama. But we shortened it we just called it the Wolf. But everything's like a W that is east of the Mississippi. Everything starts with a K, the call letters, as we say, west of the Mississippi. But the owner of CADA, they have their station starting with a C in Australia. Its owner is ARN Media. They confirmed to the Financial Review that while Ty is AI generated, the host's voice and likeness are actually modeled after an actual employee that works in the company's financial department. And they take a picture. I don't know if the picture is actually of this person, but they feature a picture of a human, it looks like, in a tank top type thing on their website. Now, the host voice and likeness modeled after an actual employee in the financial department, and the voice was created with the AI generator 11 Labs, and it is neither on CADA's website nor the show itself. There is no disclosure that the host is AI generated, and I think that would be a problem here in the United States, or if it's not, it will be soon because of other rules that we have. Curated by our music experts, these are the songs that are charting or on the cusp of blowing up. Hear it first with Ty, so you can boast to your friends and say you were all over it first, says the show description. The Ty first appeared on CADA's website back in November of last year. Its rating suggests it reaches about 72,000 people. The vice president of Australian Association of Voice Actors slammed ARN Media's failure to disclose the use of an AI host. Australian listeners deserve honesty and upfront disclosure instead of a lack of transparency, leading them to trust a fake person that they think is a real on-air person, they said. Well, we're trying to understand what's real and what's not, said the CEO of ARN, who has the AI host. What we've learned is the power of the announcers we have. Okay. Other radio stations have also experimented with AI, including a Portland, Oregon radio station and Sirius XM. It's as if they took a Sirium. They also featured an AI host, a not real host, a fake host. And a Polish radio station laid off journalists only to replace them with AI hosts. An experiment it later ended following backlash. Oh, so good to hear about the backlash. I don't like the backwash, though. Hopefully we won't encounter any of that at Café Anyway. Let's go, and I'll open the door for you after you. It's a real door. It's a theater of the mind door, but in my mind, it's real. Let me open it for you. Here we go. Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It is episode 3063, 3063, and Mike Matthews here at Café Anyway, somewhere in podCastro Valley. Mike's Daily Podcast. The last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. I always have to rhyme a word that rhymes with topica, and it's not even a word that exists. So what am I doing? I'm just singing a song. And then I am fooling with my shirt, because on the video, I get distracted like Mike's Daily Podcast. This is why I have a problem with people on the radio that are also doing video. It causes them to lose their attention, as most people are losing. Their attention span has gone into nothing. By the way, speaking of radio, there are some call letters on my shirt, but they're backwards, so you'll never figure it out in the video if you go to mikesdailypodcast.com. But why do we even try to compete with the big guys like Netflix? They are the stock market's favorite, as I talk in odd cadence. Netflix's earnings recently didn't complain about a deteriorating economy. No mention of the ongoing trade war's role. In fact, the word economy wasn't uttered on their conference call at all. The investors believe that Netflix is well positioned to withstand macro turmoil. Some macro turmoil. I love to do some macrame, but I don't like the macro turmoil. The idea is that if consumers start going out less because of economic uncertainty, then they will stay home and consume relatively cheap entertainment like Netflix, which we watched on Netflix, that North of North show, which was completely shot somewhere in, where was it shot? Was it in Africa? Not Africa. Another place that starts with an A. Alaska. Maybe. Somewhere up there. At any rate.
And here's today's podcast picture.
The indigenous cultures that live up there and have lived there for many, many years, like thousands, etc. Hey, the podcast picture's not of that place at all. No, it is. Is it going to be another one of Lake Chabot? Or me on the beach? I don't know. It'll be something fantastic. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com. Oh, this wonderful sunset. Yes, that was very nice in podCastro Valley. And mikesdailypodcast.com is my website. If you make it over there, it's free, except for me. I pay for it, so check it out. And the late great Basil the Boxer, he lived in podCastro Valley with me and often saw such beautiful sights as this. So see that, because you need a little beautiful sight to cheer up your day. A 1-month subscription to Netflix costs less than most movie ticket prices. Yeah, when I discovered that, I said, what, hold on. What, how expensive is it to see a movie? To sit in a theater with a bunch of loud people and smelly? Some people are not smelling the best. And then, of course, you have to have a tolerance for the smell of popcorn.
Chowder.
Or chowder. I'd rather smell chowder than popcorn. I don't know. The fake butter, yes, delicious, but so bad for you. So Netflix shares, they soared 9% from a year ago. They went up almost 10% and dominated the broader market. Netflix is trading like a recession.
Mike, you want to join in on this conversation? You can join in.
Is it a conversation about recession-resistant stocks? Because apparently that's what Netflix is. Netflix aims for about 410 million subscribers, up from about 300 million at the end of last year. So their goal is 410. They ended last year with 300
All I want to do is sit on a couch and eat corn chips.
million people that were sitting on the couch eating corn chips. Netflix is the top streamer in profitability, and it had an income last year of $8.7 billion. Corn chips. Are those little things that you... No, wait. I'm thinking of... What am I thinking? I'm looking through everything here. Corn nuts. That's it. Corn nuts. When I was a young'un back in the day, and I was living over there in Ventura County, and I would drive up to Santa Barbara to work at this radio station, and I was on the overnight, and I got paid $4 an hour. I think it might have been less than that, maybe $3.50.
Dilly.
It was a terrible amount of dilly money, silly dilly. But what happened was I was paid in corn nuts. They had a big box of corn nuts in the back. And since they sponsored our radio station, they had a big commercial running. They had a box of these bags of corn nuts. I think they were lime flavored. And I ate so many of those, and so did the other DJs. And there was, let's just say, a very bad corn nut smell in that studio. But that was
They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power. The likes of which this world has never seen before.
That's what we said when we were playing our music there on that radio station in Santa Barbara. Y97, we are meeting Santa Barbara with fire and fury. And nobody listened. Well, I think one ratings book, and we were only rated in the summer and the winter. I think one summer, a lot of people were listening to our station because it was top 40 and it was the 80s, and we were playing all the songs that were big in the 80s, and there was very little competition. So we got pretty popular then. Thus the corn nuts. Airlines, hotels, cruise stocks, they're facing tourist boycott. Foreign tourists are snubbing the U.S.
Latina Uzi.
Oh, no. Hopefully none of that coming from the tourists. But foreign tourists are snubbing the U.S. as Donald Trump's tariffs take hold. American airlines, cruise operators, hotels, they can handle that for now. San Francisco has been affected. European airline bookings to the city have decreased notably. Could that also be because of all the news of all the crazy stuff that's going on in San Francisco? As we go outside a Café Anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast. Somewhere in Podcastro Valley in the land of Ameritopica, it has been in decline for so long a time. I think it has reached all around the world, and Europe has taken note of how bad it is.
Anyway.
In San Francisco, Café Anyway. The number of overseas visitors to the U.S. in March alone, last month. Oh, wait a minute. Is it last month? No, it was the previous month, before that month. I am all confused because we're getting into May here. Yes. May 1st. Oh, yeah, that's something big. Wasn't that the May Day thing in Russia? Didn't they celebrate? Or some pagan place? I don't know. I think what we should do is ask a good pagan that might know.
Oh, yes. I know all about how to spot microaggressions and root out privilege.
Oh. I just happen to have one outside a Café Anyway at the moment. Okay. Well, the number of overseas visitors to the U.S. fell in the month of March, almost 12%. Visitors from Western Europe, that plunged 17%. Mexico, the amount of people visiting, that dropped 23%. Canadians dropped 32%, and flight bookings from Canada to the U.S. were down 75%. The 32% was people just driving in from Canada. Americans, and I watch a lot of Canadian television, Canadian news.
We have a knight who say...
That's not a Canadian. I don't think. Was what's his name? The guy from Monty Python. I'm having a mental block. Not Marty Palin, not Graham Chapman, not the Eric Idle, the other guy from, and I think we have the same birthday. That pretty much stinks. I can't think of his name at the moment. Hey, the interesting thing is, I don't think any of them were Canadian.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
That's my brain right now. Although the guy who became the big director, he was from America. He's the one I have. Eric Idle. No, wait. The other one. The American guy, he is the same birthday as me. Not the tall one. The point is, Americans are still traveling overseas in strong numbers. More than 6.7 U.S. citizens traveled overseas, which is actually a 5% increase from a year ago.
He's nuts! They're nuts! They know nothing!
No, well, maybe they do. The high-end consumer, the more wealthy consumer, the one that takes the global vacation, seems to be less impacted so far. And soon, just a few days away, is that Real ID thing, and people, they may not want to get Real IDs. They want to get maybe passports instead, and they'll want to travel overseas.
What in the world was that about?
To get out of the country for a little bit is what it's all about. I don't know. I would love to take a nice trip and see my relatives in Germany. It'd be wonderful. But we're outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in podCastro Valley. Look who's here.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I see graffiti everywhere, Mike Matthews.
Are you pointing that out because you should not talk
You're
to...
a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way.
You shouldn't treat people like the way you treat Sarah Huckabee. Is that what you're saying?
Huh? What are you talking about, Mike Matthews? I mean, I have that AI spray paint can that I'm selling so that when somebody sprays paint on someone's wall, like it sends an alarm to the police, and it's got GPS in it.
All right, Mike, take care. Thank you. Good to see you.
Oh, thank you. So, okay, that's amazing. People saying goodbye to me and leaving and walking off to the parking lot. I don't think the spray can thing with the AI is going to take off. It's going to be too expensive. People, they're able to buy the spray paint relatively cheaply. Thus, it is disseminated. And the evil graffiti artists paint wherever they want. And they laugh and tee-hee-hee all about it. But keep working on it, Chely. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Yes, Mike. I think Chely's idea is fantastic because I'm sick of graffiti too. It does. I heard a little growl in there. All right, well, this is great. The birds sound beautiful.
What are you, nuts?
I love birds. What are you talking about? All right, my cats, they do too. Unfortunately, they love to eat them, and that's a sad note to leave on. So why don't we just leave the phone number here, and then you can tell me what a nice note that we can leave the show on. Here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
Hey. Happy beginning of May. It's Mike Matthews. Okay. And the one thing I want you to remember...
The picture of Mohammed bin Salman on your screen.
There is no screen when it comes to audio podcasts. So stop saying, look at the screen. When you're doing a radio show, don't say, look at the screen. There is no screen. I'm driving in my car. I've got no screen. I'm listening to the radio. I better not have a screen. I'm going to be distracted. I'm going to crash. I'm going to blame you. So don't do that. All you people that say, look at the screen and you're doing an audio show, stop it. And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the main frame and hear from A-Frame. Thank you so much for listening to the show and not watching the show. No, you're listening. And I thank you. Thank you so much. Did I say thank you?
Oh, you almost had it.
Okay.
Better be quicker than
I'll work on that.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.